Hi, my name's Westrice, and I'm the top laner for Team Curse, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to play Rumble, the Mechanized Menace. Now the first thing you want to do is give your jungler a really good leash on red, which basically means go to lane and have your support help him do it. Next, when they're both waiting in the brush because you told them to, properly miss both your electro harpoons so that your opponent thinks that you're really bad, lulling him into a false sense of security. Then ask your jungler to come back and do the same thing. Now that you're at half health and your jungler's gone, pick a fight. This is going really well as I made him use his ultimate and his flash. He got first blood, but it's okay because my mom's hot. What's up, Renegade Gamers? I'm DC Green, and this is Game of Thrones Episode 9. Today's episode is going to be focusing on the finals of the NA qualifiers for MLG's Summer League that's going to be hosted in New York City. The games are between Curse.NA and Orbit Gaming, and I hope you enjoy it. Here we have the picks and bans for Game 1. Curse's first pick and first ban, they take out Malphite, Shen, and Nautilus, all strong champions in the jungler or top lane. Orbit bans out Dr. Mundo, Ahri, and Veigar. We see that they don't want St. Vicious on Dr. Mundo, and then they ban out Ahri and Veigar, which are targeted obviously at Nijaki. But I don't really think that these were necessarily the smartest bans. I think Veigar is more of like a composition pick and something that Nijaki isn't willing to run all the time. So I think that was kind of unnecessarily preemptive of them. Also, Ahri seems kind of random since he's been favoring a lot of Orianna lately. And as we can see, they don't decide to pick up the Urgot tab, and Curse shoots off with first pick Urgot. Orb pick up Soraka and Vlad, which are strong picks. I think that they picked up Soraka because Urgot Soraka is actually a really strong lane. With infinite health and mana from Soraka, Urgot is able to be as aggressive as he wants with little to no punishment from the opposing AD. Curse then pick up Maokai and Alistar. Alistar are a really good pick, and it's probably the next best support that they can run with Urgot. Alistar being able to provide a heal and set up that aggressive pulverized headbutt combo that will allow Urgot to get in position to either land his Acid Hunter or land his swap. Maokai being one of the only junglers left is going to provide a lot of tankiness to his team, as well as be aggressive early on with his Twisted Advance ganks. Orb then pick up Ezreal and Morgana. I think that they picked up Ezreal because he can farm from a pretty safe distance from Urgot, and then picking up Morgana because I think that they know that Jackie also really likes Morgana, and they think, well, if he hasn't picked it by now, we might as well get it from him so that he doesn't even get it. When it gets back to Curse, Jackie shows, hey, I can play Karthus too, no big deal. And then Westrice picks up Kali, knowing that she's a strong laner against Vladimir. In response to this, Orbit picks up Lee Sin as their jungler, knowing that if he camps top, he'll at least be able to reveal Kali, which should tone down some of the threat of her snowballing. Going over team compositions, we see that Orbit is composed of a very strong team of AoE ultimates, something that TSM would normally favor, with Morgana and Vladimir. They also have Soraka to counteract Requiem from Karthus. Curse, on the other hand, has a lot of their eggs in the Urgot swapping and killing someone basket, which isn't a bad plan because they have a lot of CC to help follow it up. If all else fails, they have a late game hyper carry in Karthus, and if they play their cards right, Akali should be able to carry them through the early to mid game. I would say that both team compositions are really unique in what they want to do, and I would really like to elaborate on which one I think is better, but I'm a little bit biased since I've already seen these matches, so I will just let you guys watch the recap to see how it plays out. Game 1 had a pretty slow start for both teams. At 7 minutes and 30 seconds, there were no kills on the board despite the junglers being Maokai and Lee Sin. Orbit took this time to get an early dragon while Curse was out of position. At 9 minutes and 30 seconds, Akali jumped on Vladimir to try and kill him. She dives on her tower and ignites him, and then dives back into the creeps to get away, and Karthus picks up first blood with Requiem. First blood going to Team Curse. The first major team fight of the match happened when Curse was going to get dragon. They caught out Morgana and Lee Sin, and were going to pick up Dragon, but decided they shouldn't stop there as bottom lane had gotten into a skirmish with Ezreal and Soraka. Urgot managed to land an Acid Hunter onto Soraka, slowing her, and this prompted a dive from Akali onto Ezreal, who picked him up with Ignite. With 4 members on Orbit dead and up 8 kills, Curse decided to pick up Dragon to give them the whopping 4,000 gold lead 14 minutes into the game. With an early Oracles on Maokai, Curse decided to take out the wards around Baron. Seeing that the enemy has no wards, it decided to go for a very early attempt on it. With Karthus being as farmed as he is and having blue buff, they feel that they can take it out pretty quick, and they start to take it out very quickly when Morgana shows up. She lands a binding on Urgot and then goes in with her ultimate. Akali gets a little too hasty and jumps out and gets caught in the Morgana ultimate and the Vladimir ultimate. Vladimir then picks up a kill on Akali and Karthus. This prompts retreat from Team Curse, but by then it's too late. Ezreal's in everybody's face and he kills Urgot and Maokai. This gives a perfect ace for Orbit and it gives him the Baron. This puts him right back into the game. With Baron still intact, Orbit sees Curse out of position in the mid lane. Morgana flashes in and catches Karthus with a good dark binding and pops her ultimate and zonies before it ends. She stuns Karthus but doesn't manage to kill him. Vladimir comes in with a good Hemoplague as Karthus retreats to cast Requiem. Both Maokai and Alistar die to Hemoplague, and Lee Sin chases Karthus down and picks up the kill. With 3 members dead and no Alistar left to peel for them, Akali and Urgot find themselves in a very sticky situation. Ezreal picks up the kill on Akali while in her shroud, and Morgana chases down Urgot to get the kill for her team. Orbit scores another ace and proceeds to push down the second middle tower. Knowing that they're in an extremely commanding lead, Orbit picks up a second Baron for free at the 29.5 minute mark. With a fresh Baron buff intact, Orbit decides to push down middle to try and end the game. The poking fest begins as Morgana lands a dark binding on Urgot. This prompts Vladimir to ghost in and try and land a Hemoplague, but he misses everybody completely. 3 members then get zoned out by Alistar, who then becomes the center of attention. He pops his ultimate and proceeds to kite the entire enemy team away from his allies. He dies in the process, but allows his team to get enough damage on the opponents to kill Soraka. Urgot then lands an Acid Hunter onto Ezreal and kills him as Akali picks off Morgana. Lee Sin finishes off Akali, but at this point, Curse is victorious as they've defended their middle tower and the inhibitor, all against an enemy with Baron. Despite losing every teamfight since the 20-minute mark, Curse knows that they have to be aggressive, especially with a new Baron spawning. They begin the poking in middle, and they catch some good damage on Soraka, which prompts an engagement from Orbit. Morgana catches a dark binding on Maokai and tries to get into position to land a really good ultimate. There's a lot of displacement going around, and Karthus runs in with his Defile on and does a lot of damage to the enemy team. He's quickly picked up by Ezreal though, which gives him the chance to finally cast Requiem. He picks up a double kill on Ezreal and Soraka. Maokai then chases away Morgana and picks up the kill on her, while Lee Sin and Akali have a duel. Akali manages to pick up the kill on Lee Sin, which leaves only Vladimir to face the 4 remaining members of Team Curse. Maokai gets Twisted Advance, which blocks off his escape and picks up the ace. Curse emerged victorious from the fight 4-1 and then pick up the new Baron. It seems that they're not out of this game after all, and that properly coordinated team fights will get them the victory in this game if they play it right. At 47 minutes, another Baron spawns. Both teams get into position to try and take it. Karthus gets some good damage on the Soraka, and Akali jumps in on the Vladimir. Maokai puts his ultimate down, but in a pretty bad spot compared to where his team actually is. Morgana uses her Zonias to try and dodge most of the damage, but falls anyways. Akali is killed, but she has a Guardian Angel, luckily, but Ezreal launches an ultimate that takes her out of the fight regardless. He then flashes into position and takes out Maokai, as Vladimir picks up a kill on Karthus. Alistar and Urgot are the only people left alive, and Alistar manages to kill Ezreal before retreating from Soraka and Lee Sin, who manages to survive the fight. At 51 minutes, both teams are still fighting over the same Baron. Curse uses Shurelya's and tries to engage, but Morgana flashes in and uses her ultimate, dispersing the team. This forces Alistar to zone the really important players on Orbit, but it doesn't allow Curse to get the damage that they need on them. Instead, they kill Soraka first, who's a very minor threat, as Ezreal picks off Alistar and then Karthus. And as we'll see here, he picks off Akali, followed by Urgot, Maokai, and then Urgot picking up a pentakill. After his pentakill, Ezreal went into the jungle of Curse to try and get the red buff. He succeeds, but he ends up getting caught here by Maokai. Urgot comes in and gets a swap on him, as we see, and Alistar shows up for good measure. This pick on the pentakilling Ezreal will lead to the eventual taking of the bottom and middle inhibitors by Curse. At 55 minutes, Curse have vision of Orbit. They see Soraka coming in and they decide to jump her with everything that they've got. Through all of her burst heal, they do manage to kill her, but they lose Karthus in the process. Maokai then kills Morgana, and the fight turns into an all-out brawl as they kill Ezreal, but only managing to get his Guardian Angel. It is important to notice that Vladimir has not been touched this entire fight. Ezreal goes down, but Vladimir is able to pick up the kill on Akali, as well as Lee Sin getting the kill on Maokai. Vladimir and Lee Sin then kill Urgot and leave no one but Alistar alive on Curse to defend. Knowing that they have upwards of 70 seconds before anybody respawns, Lee Sin and Vladimir go to kill the Nexus with only Alistar to defend. Despite his best efforts, he is unable to defend the two, and they take down the Nexus, claiming the victory of Game 1. Here we are in Game 2. We see that Orbit has first pick and first ban, and they take out Dr. Mundo again, Ahri again, and this time they ban out Alistar, not liking that aggressive presence that he always has in bottom lane. And then going over to Curse, they ban out Vladimir, Urgot, and Morgana. So they basically ban out the two heroes that made that AoE comp that Orbit ran last game so successful, Vladimir and Morgana, and then they just decide to pick up the Urgot tab. Orbit then first picks Shen, who's a good solid pick, and then pass it over to Curse, who pick up Karthus and Nunu. So I think after banning out all those AP champions, Curse knew that they wanted to get Karthus as quick as possible, which is why they picked him so highly. And then I know that Elements has been favoring Nunu a lot, especially when Alistar is banned, so he's been favoring those good tanky supports. Back over to Orb, they're again going to pick Ezreal and Soraka. They felt very comfortable with that bottom lane, and they won. And of course, Ezreal got a pentakill, so why not? Curse then responds by picking up Nocturne and Corki. So Nocturne, that good aggressive jungler, provides a lot better ganks pre-6 than Shen does. Also clears the jungle faster than he does. This is a good pick. And then Corki coupled really well with Nunu, and I also know that Corki is one of Cop's favorites. And if it's not his favorite, it's definitely his most played. Orb then picks up Kassadin because they know that Karthus will be easy for Kassadin to farm. So even if Karthus gets farmed, at least Orb will also have a farmed AP carry. Then they get Malphite this lane for top because he was banned last game. Malphite, one of those strong, kind of coming back into favor heroes. He's got good initiation and is good for getting behind enemy lines to take out the enemy AD carry. Curse responds by picking Rumble. Rumble is one of those counters to Malphite. He works really well against him because he does all magic damage, and Malphite scales a lot off armor. Looking at both team compositions, I would say that Orbit has a much more average composition compared to Curse. They don't have a lot of different combos they can pull. They can definitely initiate with Malphite while Shen is using his ultimate on him, which will put both of their tanks right in the middle of the fight. But their AD and their AP are both kind of squishy, and Kassadin can't put as much damage per second out as Karthus can. Looking at Curse, we see that again they have a nice hyper carry in terms of Karthus. They also have massive amounts of potential with Corki and Nunu because of Blood Boil, putting Corki at godlike attack speeds before he should actually be able to achieve things like that. They have Nocturne, who's going to be nice and tanky and do a good amount of damage, as well as provide vision impairment to the enemy team and provide a crowd control. And then Rumble, who, depending on where the teams fight at certain times, will be able to completely dictate where anyone can go with his ultimate. I'd love to lie and say that I don't want to discuss the teams, but to be honest, Curse just has a way better team. I feel like how I said in the beginning, that Orbit's heroes are a little bit average compared to what Curse has. So we'll see how it plays out. Okay, so if you remember the intro, Game 2 started with First Blood given up by Rumble to Malphite. The rest of the early game was pretty uneventful until Orbit tried to get Dragon. Curse knew that this was happening, and they called Rumble from top as well as Karthus from middle. Nocturne was patrolling the area and almost got caught out. And then Kassadin got caught by a perfect Malphite ultimate comboed with the Shen ultimate, but Rumble put down a great equalizer to split the team, which baited them right into a Nunu's absolute zero. Soraka was picked off by incoming Corki, and then Malphite and Kassadin were both chased down by Corki as well. Nunu and Corki stayed on Kassadin while Ezreal was killed off screen by Rumble, and then they picked up the kill eventually as he ran out of mana. Curse then took the lead of this game as they came out of that fight 4-for-1 and took Dragon. Both teams remained pretty aggressive throughout the mid-game, but Curse had established themselves as the dominant force. They took a Dragon uncontested by Orbit. Shen and Ezreal, however, decided to still poke their heads out to see what happened when Nocturne engaged with Paranoia. Ezreal was able to get out of range and put a perfect True Shot barrage down the line of Team Curse, followed up by a Force Pulse and a taunt by Shen. This took out Karthus, Corki, and Nocturne, which put Orbit in the driver's seat. They then took the first bottom tower and kept up their aggression and took out the second bottom tower, which just about equaled the gold advantage for both teams. After seeing Rumble get ganked top by Kassadin and Malphite, Curse knew they had a numbers advantage if they pressured bottom. Corki and Nunu put a lot of damage down onto the tower as well as chunking out Shen. They kept up the pressure to keep them there, and then Nocturne showed up out of the brush to kill Shen. Karthus even lent Requiem to kill him in case he escaped, but it was unnecessary, and Curse got the bottom tower. They then repaid the favor to Orbit and took out the second bottom tower as well. Ezreal was able to kill middle to try and balance out the odds, but this was really of no concern to Curse. Later, Orbit was all grouped up in middle, and they saw Karthus poured out, so they got in position to engage. Karthus flashed over the wall of Wraiths to find Rumble and Nocturne. He put a lot of damage on Rumble, but Nocturne was able to save him with the fear. Nocturne then got caught in the crossfire and killed. Nunu, however, unopposed, was able to channel a perfect absolute zero combined with Karthus' Requiem that killed Ezreal. Kassadin also picked up the kill on Nunu. Corki was getting dangerously low but managed to Valkyrie out of a Malphite ultimate just in time when Karthus showed up to play cleanup crew. He walked right past Kassadin, however, who was able to rift walk onto Corki and then Null Sphere Rumble to pick up the double kill. After Karthus killed Malphite, the two played a game of cat and mouse. Karthus landed a perfect wall of pain and got the lay waste for the ace. After realizing they had just basically won a 4v5, Curse decided to keep their aggression up and push down the middle towers. Because of this sudden presence, they caught Orbit out of positioning and got both towers before the fights even started. Then Curse got a really good catch on Soraka and were able to kill her almost instantaneously with Equalizer from Rumble. Malphite used Unstoppable Force on the group of Curse with the Shen, who was able to taunt Karthus and keep him out of the fight. Ezreal was able to pick up a kill on both Nunu and Nocturne before being killed by Corki, who also killed Kassadin. Karthus then died to Shen, but he was able to channel his Requiem through the death-defied state and return the favor. Corki and Rumble then took out the remaining exposed inhibitor and were able to kill one Nexus turret before they were forced to retreat. After resurrecting, Curse mobilized quickly and got Baron without Orbit being able to react. Afraid of Curse now with Baron buff, Orbit backed off of their top tower and let them take it, as well as the inhibitor, pretty much unopposed. With two inhibitors down and Baron buff in tow, Curse was looking to close out the game by pushing down onto the bottom tower. Karthus, however, got caught out of position by Kassadin and Ezreal and had the Zonias, which caused him to not do any damage in the ensuing teamfight. He had to flash over the wall to get out of an Unstoppable Force, and he was able to channel his ultimate, but that's pretty much all he was able to lend to the fight. Corki killed Malphite after Nocturne had been killed by Ezreal, but with no one to chase Ezreal down, he was able to keep up his pressure and kill Karthus before Nunu and Corki made their escape. Orbit successfully defended the tower and the inhibitor, keeping them in this game a little longer. Curse returned to Orbit's base without skipping a beat and quickly used Paranoia on Malphite to engage. This forced him to use Unstoppable Force on some undesirable targets and baited his team into a perfect equalizer by Rumble. This set Karthus up for a triple kill, as Kassadin was only able to bring down Nocturne. Karthus then channeled Requiem to try and kill Kassadin, who used Zonias to live it out, and then he managed to kill Karthus before dying himself and giving Curse the ace. Curse then killed the respawn inhibitor and then put their sights on the Nexus turret and the Nexus itself, putting this into a game 3. Okay, game 3. Curse has first picked first ban this time, and they take out Vladimir, Shen, and Morgana. Obviously, again, banning out that strong AoE composition that they used to win in game 1, and then banning out Shen, because he's Shen. Orbit banning out again Dr. Mundo, Karthus, and Urgot. Just staying on that Dr. Mundo ban, getting rid of Karthus this time because they played against him 2 games already and they're like, alright, we've had it. Curse then first picks Nunu, which seems strange, but I guess they really liked him in game 2, so why not? Orbit then picks up Ezreal and Nocturne. They pick up Ezreal probably because they think that Curse might pick him to go with Nunu, or it also could just be because it's Nyan's favorite hero, so who knows. Their Nocturne pick, I think they picked it away from Curse this game because they ran into such good success last game, so there's that. Going back to Curse, they pick up Corki and Shyvana, so picking up Corki to go with Nunu again, and also when the enemy's picked an AD, you might as well pick your AD also, so that it gives your opponents one less chance to counter pick you. And then same thing goes for their jungler. They pick their jungler because the opponent also picked their jungler. And same thing, picking up Shyvana, knowing that Shyvana's going to have good enough clear speed with Nocturne, and also going to be able to lend just as much in team fights as he will be able to. Going back to Orbit, they pick up Ahri and Blitzcrank. Ahri's a good solid pick. She's pretty hard to counter, and she does a lot of damage if you just let her get away from you, which is pretty easy. And her mobility coupled with Ezreal's mobility is going to make for a really hard team for Curse to chase down, so I like this pick. The Blitzcrank pick could have been anything, I suppose. I don't know why they didn't go with Alistar instead, but as far as I know, Lemon Nation plays a pretty good Blitzcrank, so I think that's the reason why they chose him. Curse then rounds out their team with Olaf and Oriana. So there's that Oriana that I mentioned in game 1 that Jackie really favors. So it seems like if he can't pick Karthus, he picks Oriana, and should be a fine laner against Ahri. Westeros picks up Olaf. Not as safe of a pick as, say, Aurelia, not knowing what you're going into, or not knowing what your opponent's going to pick, but really strong, and if he gets late game, he will be able to chase down Ezreal or Ahri. So this is a good pick considering Curse makes it to late game. Orb then rounds out their team with Darius, who seems like a strong pick as well, and he should be able to hold his own against Olaf. He also synergizes well with the Blitzcrank hook with his Apprehend. Looking at the team compositions, I would say that both teams are pretty evenly matched. Curse has a really good engage with Shyvana and Oriana, as well as Olaf, just providing a lot of hard engage. Same goes for Orbit with Nocturne or initiating with a Blitzcrank pull or Ahri charming somebody. Both teams have a lot of ways to engage, but not a lot of ways to disengage, so it's really going to come down to whoever's more farmed at the time is going to emerge victorious in the team fights. The biggest lane that sticks out the most to me is bottom lanes. I think that Curse has a better bottom lane because more than likely Blitzcrank won't be able to land any pulls on Corki and only Nunu. And because Nunu is more tanky than the average support, and Ezreal and Blitzcrank don't have the biggest amount of burst, it's going to engage them into some pretty rough fights if they choose to. And I think just eventually Corki and Nunu will win out that lane, and also carry over better late game. In terms of who has the better team comp, to be honest, both teams are pretty damn evenly matched, so I would really just put it up to, like I said, whoever's more farmed at the time that they start fighting each other is going to come out victorious. Game 1 started with a crazy level 1 team fight as Orbit invaded Curse's jungle and set up for a blitz pull. They blindly get Corki and almost kill him, but he flashes out, and this sets an all-out fight with both teams. Corki is eventually picked up by Ignite from Darius, but then Ahri kills Shyvana, but Olaf kills Nocturne, Nunu kills Ezreal, Oriana kills Darius, and then Oriana also picks up the kill on Blitzcrank with well-timed auto attacks and Clockwork Mind-Up. Ahri flashes over the wall to escape, but with Curse going 4 for 2 in that exchange, this may not have been the best plan for Orbit, especially since the whole series was riding on this game. Both teams only managed to pick up one extra kill apiece between the big team fight at level 1 and the 12-minute mark. So Curse feels it's about time to pick up a dragon, and they do so uncontested. By mid-game, Orbit had managed to tie up the gold lead, and were looking to make some aggressive plays. They pull Nunu in bottom lane, and Shyvana jumps in. Nunu channels Absolute Zero, but is interrupted by Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank then gets killed by Corki, and Nunu gets killed by Nocturne. Corki then tries to finish off Nocturne, which he does, but he finishes Shyvana beforehand. The two ADs are left to battle, and some quick jukings, Ezreal is able to finish off Corki. After the successful engagement in bottom lane, Orb decides to pick up the second dragon. They manage to kill Shyvana prior to this engagement, so they're feeling very safe. Unfortunately, Blitzcrank got too comfortable and used his pull on the dragon. This gave his team no presence when Corki and Nunu came to sandwich from bottom, and Oriana and Olaf came to sandwich from top. Nunu managed to cut Ezreal and Nocturne away from the fight, so Corki could come up and help Olaf and Oriana clean up. They pick up Darius, but Ahri kills Olaf. But at this point, it's too late. Oriana is at full health and goes on a killing spree, taking out Ahri and then Blitzcrank. And Shyvana, who respawned, manages to catch and kill Ezreal. Oriana then pursues Nocturne, who she knew was bottom lane, and chases him down with the help of Shyvana and picks up the ace. Shyvana and Oriana then take dragon. After their successful dragon fight, Curse continues to be aggressive and take out the middle tower. They quickly see Ezreal, Nocturne, and Blitzcrank out of position and hard engage, but this leaves Ahri and Darius open to come in from the side. Ezreal also gets really good positioning in the back. Darius takes out Shyvana, and Ezreal takes out Olaf. Ezreal also picks up Corki, and Oriana and Nunu are forced to retreat. This fight allows Orbit to regain some footing in the game, as they're able to take out both middle towers after fending off Curse. At 31 minutes, both teams are in river, and they're just looking for that perfect moment to engage the other at Baron. Blitz whiffs his hook, and Olaf runs in with Shyvana. Olaf quickly sticks to Ezreal and zones him from the fight completely while killing him at the same time. There's a lot of pressure being put on Oriana, who's also getting zoned, but she manages to escape. Darius kills Shyvana, but is unable to save Ahri from getting killed by Corki. Corki manages to Valkyrie away, but he does eventually die to Darius' bleeds. Darius revives with Guardian Angel, but his ultimate is on cooldown and he's unable to kill Olaf before he's killed by Oriana. Oriana then picks up a double kill on Nocturne and chases down Blitzcrank with the rest of her team to pick up her triple kill. After their victory, Curse returns and gets Baron. Curse pushes on an orbit with their Baron buff, and they catch Blitzcrank out in the bushes. They immediately pick him off, and this prompts a disengage from orbit. This allows them to eventually get the bottom inhibitor. At 40 minutes, both teams knew Baron would be coming up soon, so they tried to get in position. Curse, though, was the first to engage, so they got to jump on orbit. Shyvana dives in and is the first to fall to Ahri, but it doesn't matter, as she's distracted the enemy team long enough for Olaf to come in and pick off Ezreal. The rest of the enemy team was falling behind and was picked off by Corki and Orianna. Olaf then kills Nocturne and kills Ahri, picking up the triple kill. With the ace, Curse joined their super minions, destroying the Nexus chariot and then kill the Nexus, picking up the victory in Game 3 and getting them a spot in New York to compete for $10,000. Congratulations, guys. Okay, so that was the 3-game series. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Congratulations to my boys on Team Curse for pulling out a victory and going to New York. I also want to give a special thanks to West Rice for letting me use exclusive footage from his upcoming Rumble guide. Unfortunately for the team, he's not going to be able to make it to New York, so they are going to have to get a substitute. We do currently have a thread on Reign of Gaming going where you can provide your suggestion for who they should choose as their substitute. So check it out. Anyways, the MLG finals are going to be cast August 3rd to August 5th, so be sure to catch it and root for Team Curse. Lastly, I'd like to apologize because I can't give you guys another $100 worth of riot points on this video, but 2 episodes in 1 week, I feel like I can give 50 out on the other one and 50 out on this one. So yeah, you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel and comment on this video, and make sure to check my Twitter for the winners. Just to be clear, I'm going to now be doing 5 winners from the last video and 5 winners on this video. There's also a link in the corner this side where you can go to the last video, so make sure you go watch that one if you haven't and comment on that one. And hopefully after watching the 2, you'll realize that this is an overall improvement and that I do read the comments and I do take your feedback very seriously and that I try and put it into practice as soon as possible. Thanks for watching.